One thing there that I think that is a massive advantage of Vitest, this thing that Anthony is telling about HMR, that is extremely fast because of how Vit works. And the feedback loop that it enables is really amazing to develop. In the same way that when you change, you change some colors, you can change it with like the slide and you see it how it is applied. If you have autosave on in Vit, you can like do that and you will have the same feeling as you have in the DevTools. So for test, this also kind of applies and you will have like the feedback right there.
What's going on, party people? GatsbyConf 2022 is right around the corner and is brought to you by the team at Gatsby, the finest front end for the headless web. The conference is totally free and is totally virtual, so everyone can join. Plus, when you register, you get access to all the conference recordings when they're published. The event is happening March 2nd and March 3rd, and registration is open right now. Check it out at GatsbyConf.com. Here's what to expect. Day one is all about talks. You're going to hear from the Gatsby co-founders and leadership on speed improvements to the build system, incremental architecture, the latest on Gatsby Cloud, of course, some announcements and more. They've also invited a ton of folks from the community to speak, and day one kicks off with Chris Collier on the keynote. Day two is all about workshops. They got more than 10 workshops to attend. And the next step is to head to GatsbyConf.com to learn more and register. Again, GatsbyConf.com.
Welcome to JS Party, your weekly celebration of JavaScript and the web. We record live on YouTube Thursdays at 1 p.m. US Eastern. Subscribe to be notified at youtube.com/changelog and join in on the chatter at jsparty.fm/community. Special thanks to our partners at Fastly for shipping JS Party super fast all around the world. Check them out for yourself at fastly.com. Okay, let's do this. It's party time, y'all. Hello, friends. It is Jared, and I am here for another JS Party. You know, we did a show on Vite, and then we decided, hey, Vite, let's talk more about Vite, because, you know, Vite means quick. We want to talk more about Vite, so we're here to talk more about Vite, specifically Vitest, and some other cool stuff going on. And my co-host today is Nick Nisi. What's up, Nick?
Ahoy, hoy. How's it going, Jared?
It's going very well. So you were on the Evan show, and now here you are. So you are our Vite expert at this point.
Very exciting.
Very exciting. Well, maybe not total expert, but we brought a couple of experts on to talk to us about these things. And we are joined today by Anthony Fu. Welcome, Anthony.
Hello, I'm Anthony.
Good to have you. You're a core team member of Vue, Nuxt, and Vite, and also the creator of Slidev and other cool tools. So that's quite a litany of things you're up to.
Thanks.
And we also have Matthias Capoletto with us. He goes by Patak. You may know him as patak.dev at his website, and Patak on Twitter and elsewhere. Welcome to the show.
Hey, really nice to be here. Thanks for the invite.
Great to have you. You're also a Vite core team member, a Vue team member, and you work at StackBlitz, but you don't work on StackBlitz. Do you want to tell us about that situation? It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I joined like a few weeks ago, and like I'm working now full time on Vite and the ecosystem. Vite is kind of in the like critical path for StackBlitz. They are going to use it a lot. It's pretty cool, like to be able to spend more time in open source now.
Yeah, that's really cool. It's a growing trend in our ecosystem. We have full-time open source maintainers sponsored by corporate backers, and you are another one added to that list. We were just talking before the show that our friend Zach Leatherman also recently went full-time on his front-end static site generator 11D, working at Netlify. He already worked at Netlify, but now he's not going to work on Netlify. He's just going to work on 11D full-time, and that's super rad. So congrats to Zach and to 11D, and really to all of us, right? Like when that happens, I feel like the whole community wins. Don't you guys think?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, totally.
So y'all work on Vue things, Vite things, lots of things. Anthony, you also, just want to embarrass you a little bit, were recently ranked on the State of JS 2021 as a person who people read, follow, or want to highlight for their work. 137 people put your name in. I think it was a write-in, wasn't it? So they actually like had to go out of their way to write your name in. How'd that feel? That had to feel pretty good.
Yeah, I'm kind of like really like flattered to see this. I totally like unexpected to see my name there. And yeah, just like, I don't know how to say. I just want to thanks for all the people that are supporting my work and also like put my names inside of the survey. Yeah.
That is super cool. And I'll also say, to pat our own backs a little bit, JS Party, the second most listened to podcast in the State of JS survey takers, up from number 4 last year. So that's a big win for us. And Anthony, who knows, maybe in 2022, you'll be even topping that list of people that are helping other people out. That would be cool.
Wow.
But I'm sure just to be mentioned is quite an honor.
Yeah. Thanks, Ella.
All right. So we're going to talk about Vitest. This is a project you all both work on. But first, we'd like to know how you came to be core team members on Vite and all these various Vue and Vite related projects. We'll start with you, Patak. How did you get involved with these projects?
So actually, like, Anthony has a lot to do with it, because after I was working in a project and starting to contribute to Vue use, that is a project from Anthony. And he was kind of amazing in how he managed open source and contributions. So it kind of like started there, and I wanted to like get more involved because there was a very good response from the other side. And I got to contribute a bit to VitePress, and then like starting to contribute to Vite when Evan was finishing the Vite 2 version at the beginning of this year, like after a massive sprint that Evan did. Then I got involved I think at the right time, like when the Discord was created. So there was a lot of community work to be done, and that I love to do that kind of side of it, like working with the ecosystem to see that like all the integrations are working correctly. So I got more and more involved in that regard. And when Evan created the team, then like Anthony, me, and others were kind of like selected to start. Like now they are, I think, like 7-8 people in the team.
That's quite a lot of people. So what is it about Vue, Vite, this ecosystem, this community of people that attracted you in the first place? Like, why are you hanging out with Anthony and Evan? And what is it? Is it the tech? Is it the people? What attracted you?
I think there are several things, like in particular the Vue community and the Vite community now, but also Vitest, and they are very collaborative, and it's really great to work in these communities. And also like the tech, I started getting more involved in Vue because of like Vue 3. There was a lot of, like when that was getting finalized, there was a lot of very interesting RFC that were being discussed, and like Vue 3 is amazing. So it really attracted me, that particular part. And then from there, like, I don't know, like Vite, and there is a lot to say why I was attracted to Vite.
But you're going to hold it back. You're going to make us ask. Let's tease that out. Let's go to Anthony. So Anthony, how did you first get involved with Vue and eventually Vite? What attracted you to this community?
That's just like enjoying creating apps using Vue. And then like when the Vue composition APIs comes out and it's in the RFC phase and people are kind of arguing and like discussing with this. And then like there is a community plugin called Vue composition API. I think basically like it's the plugin that enables composition APIs in Vue 2. So like you can use at that times with that plugins. So then I create Vue use to like injecting some logic or like common composables and libraries. So at that time I can think, okay, this is a good time for people to migrate from Vue 2 and 3. So I would like to make the migration easier. So Vue use is like to being compatible for both Vue 2 and 3. So in Vue 2, it relying on the plugins I just mentioned about. Sometimes that there is a misalignment in Vue 3 implementations of the composition APIs and the plugin. So I create a pull request to it, but the maintainer seems like not really responsible for a few weeks or months. So I kind of think maybe I can take that job. So basically like the work is kind of simple to align the API design with Vue 3. So I create an issue saying that, okay, I'm volunteer to maintain this project and have some list that I have contributed before. So then Evan come here and say, okay, that's great. And he gave me the permission to maintain it. Then I become one of the member of the Vue team. So yeah, I think that's basically the here, and giving this like recognition from Evan, that's like really encouraged me a lot to like do more stuff with the Vue ecosystems. And also then like about the Vite, I think it's become like a bit natural. Things like if you build apps and the Vite experience is really great. So like we are kind of trying it out and really like it. So getting more involved with the community and then like just becomes the team member of it.
What strikes me about this, and he's not here so we can talk about him. Last week he was here, so it was harder to say these things, but it seems like Evan's leadership is really on display, how he inspires people to come alongside, work with him, but also like, here's a new idea, here's a new thing I'm building, come build it with me. And then by the way, like, here's some ownership in terms of like agency, and why don't you, like, whose idea was Vitest, and how did that core team, or you guys, tell us who all works on Vitest. First, I should say it's a blazing fast unit test framework powered by Vite. So there, now we all know what we're talking about, even though the four of us already knew, but now we all know. That's what it is. How did you two come to work on that, and whose idea was it?
I think this is like comes from a few team meetings. So this is the thing that Vite is kind of lack of, to have a better integrations with Jest. So at that time, Jest doesn't provide async transformations and ESM support. So one of the other team members, Sodas, who is working on just Vite integrations that's trying to use Vite as a transformer of Vite. But like with the lack of the functionalities, it could be like really hard to do it. So in the team meeting of Vite, so like we are trying to discuss like how should we recommend user to use regarding of the testing. So just essentially like duplicate all the plugins or all the configurations you do in Vite. And if like you have a custom Vite plugin installed, but like you also need to write the transformations for Jest in order to have the same behaviors when running the code. So as the results in the meetings, that we can basically like cannot recommend any of the test runners at the current stage for Vite. So I think the only solution would be like the end-to-end testing libraries, for example, like Cypress or testing runners, but that's not really unit testing. It's like fire up the whole browser, and it will take a lot of your CI time. So then like Patak comes up with the name called Vitest. So yeah, Patak, maybe you want to talk about a bit how you come up with that name.
Excellent name, by the way.
Like it's strange because like before that team meeting, in this team meeting, normally we are like, it's bi-weekly, and we are talking about all the features that we are like accepting or rejecting in Vite, like with Evan and the rest of the team. So as Anthony said, like we were discussing this, and 3-4 months before that, I was using the Vitest name. Actually, when I was creating starters to test things in like PRs or in Vite, I will have in my local like folder, like I will name it Vitest, just because I will say Vite and test, and then like I started to collapse it at one point. And then when we were discussing this, I kind of like we had some notes, and I put Vitest with a question mark at the end in the meeting, and Anthony sees that, and in the other chat he goes like, who wrote Vitest? And directly goes and grabs the package name from npm that was free. Like it was strangely free because like Vite was for a long time there already. And so like the team meeting ends, Anthony disappears for like 3-4 hours, and then get back saying, hey, I have a proof of concept, and like starts already like, please invite me. And I see that like it was already like kind of running test and everything, doing some very Anthony thing there.
So in terms of the project itself, right there on the homepage, there's a big warning sign. Vitest is still in development. It says it's not recommended to migrate your current testing setups yet. You can try it out in new projects if you're willing to get involved and help us. And it looks like you do have a few other people on the team. Shout out to Aslamamad, Vladimir, and Ivan as well there on the homepage.
Yeah, and Joaquin also.
Did I say that right?
Yeah, and Joaquin also. Like there's another.
Oh, and Joaquin. Okay. Gotta get Joaquin on the website. I don't see.
We need to update it then.
Very good. So how long y'all been working on this? Sounds like it's ready, sort of, but migration's not currently recommended. What's the situation of the state of the software?
I think from the first line, it had been like 2.5 months. So actually, like about the implementations, like this idea comes from a long ago. That's when I was working with Puya, the leader of Nux, to like work with the integrations of Nux. to use Vite as the build tools of Knox 3. So the main problem is that when you do the server-side renderings at dev times, they used to bundle the whole server app, and that things use the rollup pipeline, which is kind of inconsistent with the dev environment. So Puya comes up with the idea that use Vite as the kind of like the bundler. We call it dev bundlers. We actually mock as a server request to Vite to like transform all the modules individually and then like contracting them into one single files, and then like so the node can execute it to render the result. And then like I come up, maybe we can just skip the IO part. We can just like after we transpile the modules, we can just execute them right away. So I come up with the project called Vite Node to run, basically like to run some code, some modules with Vite transformations and then running in the node. So then it comes to Vitest. So then I think, okay, I can create a new test runners based on Vite. So I use Vite Node as a foundations and to evaluate the modules. So basically like it was the initial same, and then like we put the assertion library tries, and then I think it's called Signal for mocking, and also like the just snapshot, the package to mock with the snapshot features from Jest. So basically like we kind of want to create a one-step test frameworks that I think test runners other than Jest doesn't provide. So for example, like you don't have snapshot features in Mocas or like AVA. So then I put up the repos and invite the team member of Vite and Patak with me to like help with the first MVP of the test runners. So at some stage, okay, that is the idea really working. So we kind of think, okay, maybe we can open it up for our sponsors to have early access to our code base. And that kind of being a little bit like sponsor aware, but like, so when we reach a bit like stable part, we open source it. And then like we have, I think currently like we have 6 team members of it, and people like really contribute a lot to this project. So I think at the current stage, I can say that I think the experimental stage is more like I would like to keep it experimental, because like for some like feature breaking changes, I would like to make it more well designed. So like I wouldn't be afraid to like, because this is stable, and I'm afraid to like introducing breaking changes or like the great features would take a long time. So I think the current stage is that we just like want to make it for a while, for more space for us to make it better.
Yeah. There, like something else that is important is that this message kind of target kind of the right crew. Let's say like someone that if they find an issue is willing to go and at least open a proper issue with a reproduction in the repo, and maybe even go and dig in the code, get in the community, and like, and not exactly like someone that will like try Vitest and then send a like angry tweet because something didn't work correctly. Like, so maybe like in a few years, like, or even less, but I think that at this point it's important to leave that message there.
Kind of like the Google move, you know, Gmail was in beta for like 12 years, right? It was a long time in beta, and it's like, well, hey guys, we're still in beta. It's like, hey, it's still experimental. Don't angry tweet us. But that doesn't mean it's not like perfectly usable for people who are ready to adopt a tool. So you're setting expectations, and you're also maybe guarding off less experienced or intrepid developers who are willing to dig in and help out maybe.
I think that there, like what Anthony mentioned about the like how it started with a closed beta with the sponsors. I think that was a very interesting stage, and it was important also because the people that joined were already this kind of crew. So they got involved. They were like really excited about like testing and like giving us feedback. And they actually, some of the team members are from that initial group. And then as like days went on, like we started to also invite people from the Vite ecosystem, because it was very good if we had like people from Solid, from Svelte, from all the frameworks to came and check that the integrations were working correctly. So that initial part, I think it was kind of important to like even get a more like I don't know, like more time, like Anthony said, that like to cook it more slowly at that initial months, let's say, of Vitest.
This episode is brought to you by our friends at Sentry. Build better software faster, diagnose, fix, and optimize the performance of your code. Over 1 million developers and 68,000 organizations already use Sentry. That number includes us. Here's the absolute easiest way to try Sentry right now. You don't have to do anything. Just go to try.sentry-demo.com. That is an open sandbox with data that refreshes every time you refresh or every 10 minutes, something like that. But long story short, that's the easiest way to try Sentry right now. No installation, no whatsoever. That dashboard is the exact dashboard we see every time we log into Sentry. And of course, our listeners get a deal. They get the team plan for free for 3 months. All you gotta do is go to sentry.io and use the code changelog when you sign up. Again, sentry.io and use the code changelog.
So thinking about Vitest, like I want to contrast it a little bit to another popular testing framework like Jest and kind of understand some of the differences and some of the similarities. Like, is it pretty close to out of the box, supporting like a lot of the same features, maybe in different ways, but like, is there anything that you'll miss from Jest or that you get as an added benefit in Vitest?
Yeah, I think for the design of Vitest is like heavily inspired by Jest. So me personally, like I'm like really enjoying using Jest. So it's just like a little bit like some like pain points that we had and we cannot solve it with at that times, or like we cannot like confidently like provide user to have a tool for us to work with Vit. And like one of the features that I kind of want most that other than Jest is the snapshot. So Just snapshot is really great. So for people like me, it's like I'm kind of like really lazy guy. So I would like to write only the input, but not the output. I want the program to automate it for me. And then like I can check if the result is good, and then like I can commit it. At that time, that's just is lack of the ESM support. Like some of people like migrate back to mockup or for other test runners. But so then I can lose the capability of using snapshot. So this is the first thing that I kind of consider to have it inside of a Vitest. So initially, like I just putting libraries, already mutual libraries together, and then like form with some like integrations. So I brought up the Just-snapshot package, and I brought the Kai, and then like the signal to have like integration to them. So then I kind of starting to migrate the test for view use from Jest. So as a process of dogfooding to see that what is lacking. So then I see, okay, the interface of the expect from try is not really similar to Jest. So like it would be like expected something to .b, and then like you have the result in it. But in Jest, you have like 2 equals or like 2b. So that's kind of a subtle difference. But like if you have a large code base, you have to replace all. And some of them that is not like really replaceable, like find and replace. Some of them you cannot do it. So I kind of think that maybe I can just create utility functions that just rename the function to bound to that instance. So I kind of starting with some basic APIs that to match with the Jest API. So I don't need to change my testing code base that much. So I have a file called just compat in our code base, and put in, I think there are only 5 or 6 functions, and I just leave there. So it seems like that's kind of all I need. So then like contributors comes in, and then like to like fulfill all the, I don't know how many, but like maybe 50s. So those APIs to match with the Jest. So that would be really great. So like that also be the one of the great things in open source that like people can contribute and improve software or so you can have focus on different things.
Yeah, that's great. Another question that I had was, it kind of dives into the weeds a little bit of like the way that you traditionally run code before Vite and then like with Vite. Am I understanding correctly that Vite is using like more native ES modules, and like that's one of the big differences in the way that it's doing its building and bundling?
Yeah, like during build, you can think of it as like an opinionated rollup setup. So that is like kind of like the traditional battle tested setup. But during dev, we don't bundle anything.
Okay.
We just start the server, and the browser is going to start requesting first the index HTML, and from there, like all the files. And Vite is a kind of a smart server that is going to automatically transpile your TypeScript, like JSX, and give something that the browser can actually consume.
Right.
And as you said, like for that is using ESM modules directly natively.
Yeah. Okay. So I guess one of the questions that I have, and this comes up for me personally because whether we should or not, we rely on mocking in some pieces of our app for testing, and specifically like module mocking. Is that something that you can do with Vitest?
Yeah, we already support it.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
The answer is yes.
It's actually like made by the team members, Vladimir. So he contributed a lot on the mocking side, and
Nice.
he working with the Homemade to create several projects. Like one is called Tiny Spy, and one is called Tiny Pool. So for us to like integrate, I think that would be really great. So like our team members providing some package for us to make it Vitest also better.
Nick, give us an example of in your test suite when you would do module mocking and when it's useful. I'm not here to pick on you. I also mock things, so it's not. I'm fine with it. I think it's pragmatism and all things in moderation. So you can definitely shoot yourself in the foot, but there's got to be reasons why it's useful. When do you guys do it?
Mm-hmm. So an immediate example that comes to mind right now, we're actually doing a lot with XState. So we have some components that are using like the use actor hook. This is a React project, by the way, but it's using that to get access to the instance of the XState machine. And then it's querying its context and its state values to determine how to render the component. In the tests, we kind of short-circuited that. And instead of like setting up the state machine and getting it into a particular state to like test everything, we just mock the use actor and have it return, the exact state that we want it to be in for that test and the exact context that it has and things like that. And so, that requires us right now effectively doing like just.mock XState, and then we return like a mock function for use actor that returns exactly what we want. And I was curious how, like, not to dive too deep into the weeds of it, but like if it's using more like a native modules, like is that something that you can get into and do that runtime replacement of when I import this, actually give me this? Okay.
So actually, like, it's a little bit complex. Things like the resolving in Vite is different from Node. So things like in Vite is targeting browsers. So like everything is written from every import is rewritten into some URL. So like in Vitest, we're trying to like mimic this behavior. So like all the plugins can work exactly the same. So we will rewrite your import and then like to do some sort of transformations from Vite. So for example, like since Vite supports TypeScript, like JSX, TSX, out of box by ESBuild. So Vitest is also do. So like if you import a TS file, so we will send that files to Vite to transpile it and then like to run the code inside of Node. And then like in that file, every import will be also like proxy to Vite to also like run that. So we have some sort of like externalization strategies. So like for some dependencies, we don't transform it. We just use the native ESM to import it. So in Node modules, you don't expect it like plugins to transform it. So we can just do that for performance.
Very cool.
So most of the Jest things there, of course, Jest expect compatible APIs. So very familiar to you if you have used Jest or using Jest now. You have Jest Snapshot, like you mentioned, Tiny Spy you mentioned. It really feels like a batteries included kind of a setup, even the built-in mocking, stubbing, and spies. Is that kind of stuff like very opinionated in terms of when you use Vitest, you're going to use these things? Or is it like, here's what we have set up for you to use, but if you don't like Tiny Spy, swap in your own mocking library. Or if you don't like just style tests, you like more unit test style, then swap in other things. Is it swappable or is it opinionated or both?
I think some of them are opinionated and some of us are swappable. So for example, like for environment, you can use Just DOM, or like there's an alternative called Happy DOM, which I think is smaller and performant compared to Just DOM. So like you can choose. And also like we don't have the global import. So like for example, like in Jest, if you install Jest, you have it or like described everywhere. So we disable that by default. So like you are import that kind of the functions from Vitest especially. But like we also have options that called globals. You can just call globals to enable this to have a same behavior as Jest. And I think one thing that I would like to mention a bit is that things like we are using Vite, and with Vite we know the module graph of all your project and your dependencies. So we can actually to see that, okay, if you change these source files, we know that how many tests is linked to this source file. So we can do like smart watch mode, I guess. So it will be a little bit like the HMR, but for tests. So like when you change the source code, we know that's which test should be run. So like we run them instantly. And things like Vite is on demand. We don't bundle your code. So with that, we only just retransform the source code you change. Everything else is stay the same. So it will be like really fast. And we made this by default. So if you run the test, it will run all your tests once, and then it will enter the watch mode. It'll be like when you start up with the test or like Vite, it was fire up server and your console will hands and then point out the log of it. And we do a small trick is that we will check if it is running in the CI. So you can have the same command. If it's running in the CI, it will just run the code and return the results with the process code. But like if you are dev, so like if you are in a terminal, you type it and the terminal is interactive, we will enter the watch mode.
Nice.
One thing there that I think that is like a massive advantage of Vitest, this thing that Anthony is telling about HMR, that is extremely fast because of how Vite works. And the feedback loop that it enables is really amazing to develop. In the same way that when you change, you change some colors, you can change it with like the slide and you see it how it is applied. If you have autosave on in Vite, you can like do that and you will have the same feeling as you have in the DevTools. So for test, this also kind of applies and you will have like the feedback right there. Later, like there could be work to integrate this more with like Visual Studio Code or your IDE. So like in the same way that you have TypeScript errors and your lint errors, and you should have your test errors right there as you code. Kind of like a Wallaby kind of experience. So I think this is really important and is part of the same philosophy that Vite is going for.
That's super cool.
That would be really nice.
Shut up and take our money.
Yeah, it's open source.
Yeah, I know it is.
No problem.
It's a meme. It's a meme. An old one, apparently. So what I think is cool about this, and the tech, of course, is I like how the Vite team came together and said, like, what is missing from this ecosystem? And Vitest was the obvious thing that you all decided, like, okay, this is a thing that is worth us investing in a first party, official, what have you, from the core team solution to this particular thing. Are there any other areas in the world of what Vite's trying to do that are currently lacking, where it's like, okay, next up we are going to work on, now that Vitest is done, quote unquote done, is there anything else where it's like pretty clear that the Vite team wants to invest in another project of this similar scale that's currently missing?
I don't think that we should give Anthony more ideas until Vitest is ready for taking out that message.
Okay, fair.
Yeah, I don't know. Like there are efforts like Vitebook. A Storybook is also working on that. So maybe a Storybook will start working on Vite. Cypress started to like use Vite a lot. And so like, I don't think that the Vite team is the one that has to complete all these pieces.
Sure.
This in particular, as Anthony said, was really hurting adoption because it was kind of one of the main pain points that when people ask it, we didn't have an answer.
So in light of that, why not build it right in?
In Vite?
Right into Vite. You got Vite, you got a full test suite runner right there inside of Vite.
The thing is that the philosophy of Vite is trying to be a small core and then have a like powerful plugin system like based on Rollup. So the ecosystem can do this kind of stuff that we are the ones doing it, but like it could have been others. I think that is important because like maintaining Vite already is a lot of work. And if Vite core starts to take more responsibilities, maybe it's going to become unmaintainable.
Fair enough. I could argue both sides. I think that's fair. That's definitely fair. Anything else on Vitest specifically before I change subjects on you guys?
Yeah, I just want to mention is that, so we are not recommended to use it. It turns out like there's a lot of people kind of using it or like migrate from Jest regarding it.
Right.
I'm hoping to ignore that error pretty quick here.
Yeah, exactly.
Or not error, that message on the site.
Wink, wink.
And so like this so far that from the feedback we see on Twitch or like in discussions, like most of people like getting quite a lot like performance boost. And also, okay, yeah. Also like, I think currently like Vue just switched the default version to 3 and also there's a new create Vue command. So it now has a Vitest preset, which is great. So like if you do the create Vue, npm, I think it's npm create Vue, right? npm init Vue. And then like you can have a pop-up to select, okay, if you want to use Vitest. And yeah, I also see that quite a lot of projects is already using Vitest to testing. We have a list in our website.
Yeah. Two also things like Cypress, for example, is starting to also recommend Vitest because it plays nicely with their story of like using Cypress for like browser testing and then like Vitest for like node testing. Also like circling back to the beginning of the discussion about the state of JS, like these surveys, we have to take it with a grain of salt, but Vitest was in the top of the interest chart. So that was kind of nice to see.
Lots of interest. Well, I mean, from the Vue and Vite core team and community out to the world, it's just been like high quality project one after the next. So, I mean, congrats to all you all for all the work you guys are putting into these things. And it makes sense why people are writing your names into, State of JS and people are interested in Vitest and in Vite because it's really cool, the work product that comes from these teams. So I guess congrats to the entire community and to you two in particular for all your hard work because it's really paying off. And I would say that the open source community really appreciates it. Hey there, it's Jared again. Have you heard about Changelog++? It's our membership program you can join to directly support our work on GoTime. As a thanks for your support, we hook you up with an ad-free feed, discounts on merch, plus some bonuses like extended episodes. Sign up today at changelog.com/++. So next up, let's talk about Slidev. Now this topic was actually requested. Let me give a shout out to Adam Young, who requested to have you on the show, Anthony, to talk about Slidev. He says, it's an interesting app of web tech that I've never seen before. So this is presentations for developers. You want to give us the skinny on this project of yours? Okay.
I think this project comes from my kind of like excuse to escaping from preparing slides. So like preparing slides is really a like hard experience.
Yeah.
Every developer presenter has that pain.
Totally.
Yeah. So as a developers, you will have like code in your slides, and some of them that the code might be a bit long, and you want to emphasize like highlight some of the lines when you are talking, and the highlight should move or like something else. So I tried PowerPoint and Keynote, and also Google Slides. And I think they are kind of good to like making slides, but like not very good for developers for some reasons. So for example, like if you want to highlight your code, you cannot do that inside of either of these software. So you will need to either make it as an image, so like you can as a snapshot, or like I don't know. So or like there's some service to highlight your code with like inline styles of them, so you can paste them inside of Notes. But then like it comes to the highlight thing. So at that time, I kind of find a trick to like have a square of a little bit semi-transparent white, so that hover onto your code, so your code will become fade. So I will have 2 blocks inside of it. So like I have a little gap. So at that gap, that code will be highlighted. So when I want to animate, I can move those 2 blocks up and down. So like I can highlight my code. But you know that could be like really time consuming. And if you want to change your code, you have to do all the process over again. That's kind of my experience when preparing, I think, tech-related code slides. And I think after 2 or 3 slides or talks, at the third times, I kind of think, okay, maybe I can make one using the web technologies. Things like that's what I'm kind of familiar with. So I can style with CSS. So like I can animate them using code, using JavaScript, right? So I kind of like trying to mess up with the Vite and use the Markdown to present the contents of the slides. And I think that's kind of where the prototype from. So then like, even though like I use these tools and life is getting easier, but like creating content is still like a painful process. So when I like kind of being like tired to preparing a note, so I will like go back to the code of the Slidev to like adding more feature to it. So something like that. So then I kind of add the features I want to record the slides and also my face. And sometimes like some of the conference ask you to like recording them separately. So you have to record your face and slides separately. And that could be a bit like hard to configure. Like, how do you do that? Mm-hmm. I still don't find a proper way to do. All I know is that, okay, I have a really wide recording screen, and one is like my camera and one is my screen. And then I will do the processing to crop one video into 2, something like that. So I can search for the web APIs to involve with the cameras and the mic. And then I made the features that you can record your screen and face separately or like together, whatever you want, inside of the Slidev web app. So that's kind of the story. So like some more talk I do, maybe the more features Slidev will get.
That's the move. Everybody has to invite Anthony to keynote at their conference. And so he just line him up with talks. And so we just watch Slidev get better and better.
No, thank you. Please don't.
Well, it's the kind of tool that speaks directly to its audience. It's for developers. You land on the homepage. We should talk about your caution tape because you also do that here. I think it's a move of yours is saying, please, it's in heavy development, experimental, warning, you do not actually want to use this, which maybe that's some reverse psychology. It makes us all want to use it even more. We're like, I'm not supposed to use this. I'm totally going to try it. But the fact that it's just Markdown right there and the separation of the content from the design, because we get so bogged down, like you said, when you're building these slide decks and you're trying to present your content, you're like, thinking about what it looks like as well as what you're saying, and it just becomes onerous to produce that. But when you can separate them and easily, borrow some people's themes, just swap them in, change the themes, and like write your content in Markdown, which is what we're used to writing documentation and blog posts and darn near our notes and our to-dos, darn near everything at this point is written in Markdown. Mm-hmm. Very attractive proposition, I think. This is a tool that speaks to developers, speaks to me at least. Nick, Paytak, agree?
100%. I have been in the same boat where I can't stand trying to get code to look right in Keynote, and I don't want to do that. And I am so familiar with Markdown and just love writing everything in Markdown if I can. Yeah. And this is just the perfect way to bridge that and just have it going. I've used tools like this before, including some that will like present directly in Vim, so I don't ever have to leave Vim. That's really cool. Like being able to just parse that out into individual slides and then go back and forth. But this obviously does so much more, including the ability to actually run code.
Right.
That is pretty cool. Do you want to talk about that a little bit more?
Oh, so like at that times I'm trying to do a presentations for Vue Composition API. So like one of the core features of Vue is the reactivity. So you basically like maintain the relationship of your data. So like you can of your state, I guess. So like when you change some of the states, your view will change. And also like you can have some sort of like computed properties. So one properties or like one state is relying on other state. So like once you update the state, the computed will be changed. So this way you have a single source of truth. So when I want to like present it in a reactive way, so I kind of think, okay, maybe I can use things like it's already a Vue app. Vitest is built on top of Vue 3. So I can use Vue components inside of it to do some like interactive. So like when I talk about these slides, I can click that buttons and maybe the number will bump to 1 or 2, or like it will change some behavior or like layouting thing. So this one, I can make the slide like really interesting or like to like more expressive to what I'm trying to talk. And also like this is what you got. We'll actually do it yourself to like create an app. So I can have part of your app or like part of the result inside of my slides. So which I think is great. And I also like one cool thing is that I could deploy the slides into a website. Mm-hmm. So the audience could like to try out themselves. So I can have a playground and you can see what your input would affect the result.
So many features. Export to PDF, PNG. You can export it to a single page app, like you said. Record the presentation. Presenter mode, drawing and annotations, editor integrations. You must do a lot of talks, man, because you got lots of features in this sucker.
I was going to ask about presenter mode. How does that work? Presumably you can have the presenter running on like one screen maybe, and then in another browser window have the presentation view. Are they kept in sync? Is that, and how does that tech work?
Basically, like at the core of it uses a WebSocket to like do the hot replacement to notify the client that which module is changed and what components you should reload. Nice. So basically, I kind of reuse that WebSocket to like share between two instances of the web. So actually, like when you open up the presenter mode, it will be actually the same as your presenter, but like with a flag away. So like I can change the view differently. So with that, it will connect back to the server and the server will pass this message to the slides. So when you press next slides inside of a presenter, it will like basically like sync between two instances. So with the web tech, so like you can actually like have it on your phone. So if you can expose these servers to your local network, you can connect it inside your phone. So like you can use your phone to control your slides on your computer.
Nice. That's cool.
That is cool.
One thing there about like as a user, like that presenter mode was amazing to give a talk. Like it makes things so simple. Like you have all the notes there already. You can put the camera mode. You can like it was like I did a recording and like it was so easy to do it with it. So that's an amazing feature of the Slidev.
Well, and a open source project like all of these things. And a way to get involved on this one, it looks like there are some official themes and some community themes. But if you have a design eye, or if you want to practice your CSS skills, it sounds like a fun place to get involved would be to submit and create themes. Because once they are out there and usable, it's so easy to swap in between and pick your favorite theme. It sounds like a great way to get involved. Is there any other things that you're looking for with regards to Slidev and community support?
I think like people are already helping a lot. But like for me, it was actually like the project that I made for myself. And then like since it's in open source and I think it's good to like open source and then people might use it. Mm-hmm. So, and also like people contribute a lot of new things or features or bug fixes to it. So basically like in current stage, I would think it will be into maintenance mode, I think. So basically like you'll see me like back to working on it when I'm starting to prepare another talk. So like,
gotcha.
Luckily, I have no talk currently.
Conference-driven development.
Conference-driven development. Okay, so it's pretty much done.
Yeah.
Still experimental according to the website, but pretty much done. And may have some new features, but not really looking for heavy development support. Themes would be cool, but it's kind of a thing that you did yourself and open source. One last question for you. Coming in from the audience, Danny Felice asks, how can you be so productive? Does AntFu7 have a dozen developers committing to his account? Tell us some of your secrets, because you're prolific at this point. How are you so productive?
I don't know. Maybe I can split into multiple ones.
That's also my theory.
All right.
For me, I'm the number 7 of the Anthony. So maybe next time you will see the other one.
So like multiplicity.
That's why you keep dropping. It's a different one.
There we go.
Okay. So like back to seriously, like I'm just like really enjoying working on things, and I think there's a lot of like different sources that drive me to it. So for example, like my sponsor to supporting my work, and people on Twitter, like they are liking my work or having thanks to me, or like thanks emails, or have like some sort of events. And also like I kind of really enjoy doing things, and to explore that something that there isn't there before. So I would like to see, okay, this one plus this one, what would be the combinations? And I think that's sort of thing. So I think that's kind of the thing that keep me doing it. So regarding of the like maintaining those projects, I think the main reason is that I have a like very great community behind. So like people are helping me out. So for Vitest, that we have a 6-member teams that I actually like. I have a week of holidays that the projects keep running very fast. So like the members are still maintaining the pull request and the issue and do the release. So I think similar to other projects like Vue, we have I think it's 10-ish members, and we have many functions, and also like many people to like contribute to new function to it. So I think that's it. So like basically like I think that's how like open source make me like really enjoy working.
Mm-hmm. Well, we're surely enjoying you working on it as well, because all of the fruits of your labor are enjoyed by many people in the community, to the both of you. I think these are really cool projects. Slidev, check it out, sli.dev. Vitest lives at vitest.dev. Of course, all the links to all the things, as well as where you can hook up with Paytak and Anthony on the internets, will be in our show notes. They both do open source. They're both sponsorable. So if you want more cool things from these two, definitely consider sponsorship as well. Fellas, any final words, Paytak, Anthony, before we call it a show?
Thanks a lot for the invite. Like it was great. And I think that, like as Evan said, like you have to try it. So try Vitest and like feel the difference.
Nick, anything to say before we hang up?
I would echo that. That's been my experience, and you will be blown away by how fast your dev environment can be, and your builds can be,
and your tests can be,
and your tests. Yes.
Yeah, man. Just want to thank everybody. So yeah, I think that's a great discussion.
Well, we really enjoyed it. Appreciate you guys spending time with us. Thanks again to Adam Young for requesting this episode. We do take requests, just like any good wedding DJ does. So head to jsparty.fm/request and let us know what you want to hear about on the pod. That is the best way for us to directly serve the audience by doing the shows that you all request. So we are happy to do that. We appreciate good ideas for shows. We appreciate all of our live listeners. This has been JS Party. I have been Jared Santo. We'll talk to you all next week. All right, that is our show for this week. Are you digging what the Vitest team is up to? Thinking about giving Slidev a try? Let us know in the comments. Just pop open your show notes, click the Discuss on Changelog News link, and you're off to the races. If this is your first time listening, subscribe now at jsparty.fm or simply search for JS Party in your favorite podcast app. We're in there. If you're a longtime listener, we'd love for you to share the show with your friends. It is the best way you can support us. Yes, we have Changelog++, and it's an awesome way for you to get extended episodes, an ad-free feed, and all that. But the best thing you can do is tell other people to give JS Party a listen. We appreciate it. Thanks again to Fastly for having our CDN back, to Breakmaster Cylinder for the beats, and to you for listening. We appreciate you spending time with us. Next up on the pod, Kent C. Dodds returns, and this time he's talking remix with K-Ball, Ali, and Divya. That's a good one. You don't want to miss it. So stay tuned. We'll have it ready for you next week.